See, that again, uh, that again reminds me that uh, there is this. I'm sorry. There is this. Again, it takes me back to Yog Vashishta. So it starts with the conversation. As the conversation starts, uh, it's happening with a very troubled youth who's many questions. And Rama is in a state of despair. He's very disconnected with himself and nature. And he's asking his guru, and he's saying, what's the point of this life? Everybody has to, uh, get the fruits of their action, this and that, and it's not going to work out anyways. And so, because he's in such state of despair, he has become emaciated from a very youthful, handsome-looking prince. He actually becomes emaciated and very troubled.
Um,
That is when sage Vashishta, he tells him, Rama, that which you call luck is actually your karma only. Maybe of this life or the other life.
yeah, yeah.
But it's all karma, karma, karma. The actions that you have done or not done.
Mm.
So
Sometimes I have
he,
people telling me,
yeah,
like, "Oh, I
he's
am incapable of
he's
doing
straight away
something."
putting it on his face. It's you.
Yeah,
You are
it's you.
responsible. You take responsibility and accountability first.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's not that, even if it is luck, it is an aggregation of certain actions, good actions, pure actions, whatever, that have brought you to that luck factor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that luck, as your body and soul transition into this body, it brings that energy with it and it manifests as luck.
Yes. Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
they say, that's why we, when we look at, again, if I look at from a very Eastern philosophy or Eastern, the Indian or the Hindu way of looking at things, if I look at rich people, they have done some karma. That's why they're rich,
Yeah. Yeah.
ultra
Probably.
rich.
Yeah.
They are carrying that karma of richness and hence they have become rich.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But mind you, here is the catch. Again, karma is also calculated of this lifetime. And the karma, if you do, if that karma is not equivalent to the karma of the previous life, things can get cancelled and all that richness can go in 1 second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not even realize what's happening.
You
So,
know,
that's
when
the
you see
intricacy.
people that are like, for example, they would say like, "Oh, I drink because my father was an alcoholic as well,"
Hmm.
and I'm like, "Yeah, but there's a lot of people that don't as well." They made the decision that because they've seen how much harm alcoholism can do
Yeah,
to someone,
yeah,
they
yeah,
decided they're going to be different.
yeah.
So it's all a matter of decisions. You can turn around things so fast
Hmm.
with simple
Hmm.
decisions.
Hmm.
For example,
Exactly.
I was like the other day, I was like, I was very sad, and I was like crying about some things that happened in my life, and then I said to my partner, like, there was no one there for me when I was growing up, but I so much want to be there for other people, you
Hmm.
know. And I'm like, I don't know where am I getting this energy from? Like, how am I being able to be supportive when no one was supportive to me? But I don't know, you find ways. You can create energy out of nothing, honestly. Like, you can transform your suffering
Yes.
into energy. So it's all about decisions.
Yeah.
It's like, because I really remember how it was not to be supported, that I don't
Yeah.
want anyone to experience that.
Hmm.
And I'm like, no way, I'm gonna get out of my way, and I'm gonna push myself even,
Yeah.
but I'll be there for
Yeah.
people, because I know, I'm a big empath, so I know how. I remember
Yeah.
how I felt, and I know how it feels. So
Hmm.
for me, it's not even a matter of karma. It's about not making anyone feel the way I felt.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
So
So
I think that's where again that the power of karma is actually adding to your evolution.
yeah.
It's not saying that, oh, I am a reaction of some previous life, so now I'm rendering you powerless, brainless. No, 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 no,
You can
not at all.
change
It
things.
is rather a sign, it's a lesson that has to be learned.
Mm, mm,
Once you learn the lesson, then that karma is done. Finish
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
done. Then you see, it's like accountancy. uh, Debit what goes out, credit what comes in, like that. Credit what goes out, debit what comes in. So until your balance sheet is not matched, it's just going to pile up on and on and on and on. The moment you start balancing your balance sheet, fair enough, you're done.
That's it.
You're all cool,
Yeah.
all set.
Yeah.
You've become you've become a superhuman. You've gone to the highest.
No, I think that's the purpose of us being here. And now we're so entitled as well. Like we have all this resources, and before you would have to travel miles and miles to enter a library to be able to read something or to meet a guru, and now you can do it live. We're so privileged. Like we have so many resources, and
Yeah.
it is actually so easy to connect with people. And
Hmm.
then a lot of people choose not to, which baffles me. I always thought, wow, the evolution of internet and technology will bring more.
What to say? What can see?
It is a
Again, it is
choice in
also
the
a
end.
choice. Sometimes you can make a choice to really not grow.
Mm,
It can be very harsh to say this, but from what I've seen multiple times, sometimes some people just choose not to grow at all, not to step out of their comfort zone at all, not to take accountability of their own growth, not to take any action for their own, action of their own actions of their own life.
mm.
And then there is this projection on the world. The world has been not kind to me. You have all these, so many criminals. You must have seen a lot of thriller movies. These criminals, Joker, like the Joker in
Ah,
Batman. The
yeah.
world has been unkind to me. Oh my goodness, that the world has been unkind to you. Why are you being unkind to the world then?
Join the club. Everyone has a story. Like,
Yeah.
I've never met a person that went through life unbruised.
Yes, and then there is justification about that badness. In today's world, you will also see this trend that people are justifying
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
willfully, in full awareness, done criminal activities. People are justifying even them.
Yeah, I've met someone, and that person told me, "Oh, my ex partner broke my heart, so I can't open my heart to anyone else anymore." And I was like, "Someone broke my heart as well. Like, I don't think there's a person on this planet that didn't get his heart broken.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so what's so special about it? It's the meaning you're giving to it.
yeah,
It's like, oh, that means that now everybody's gonna do that thing. Like, the risk of it.
yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
can't walk
Yeah.
through life behind a wall.
So again, as what you're mentioning here, it also comes to you, like you for an individual, it also, uh, life also again asks you the question that, what are you doing about it? Okay, you've broken your heart, not got love, not got money. Okay, then now what are you doing about it?
Yeah, yeah.
What do you,
It's like, don't give
or
up.
what do you want to do about it? Like in constellations also, you must have noticed, right? Sometimes uh, a client may feel very frozen, or very very resistant, very unwilling to move forward or take the next step. And then there is something that, you can only tell the client, or tell that individual, it's on you then, the
Yeah.
choice that you want to make.
Yes.
The constellation is giving you that will, that willingness, that openness to make the choice what you want to
Mm.
make. But then the consequences are in your, you have to take care of the
Yes.
consequences also, whatever choice you make. There are going to be certain results of it, certain consequences, good or bad, whatever it is. It's then you have to take accountability to, because nothing is devoid of your own accountability.
When I look at people energetically and spiritually, so if I like really go into their bodies, I always see the highest potential. That's
Yeah,
the first thing I see. I see the highest potential of that person. And sometimes, I sneakingly suggest them things, or like say, oh, maybe you should audition for this, or maybe you should do, and I try to help them. I'm like, okay, maybe I can just like steer them a bit, you know. Of course, I'm not going to make decisions for them, but I may suggest that might be cool to do this or that.
Hmm.
And many times, you know, the highest potential, the person is beautiful, and I'm like, wow, this person can be so much.
Yeah, yeah,
And then they just don't do anything. And I'm like, oh. And, you know, sometimes that's just temporarily, and, you know, they will come. Sometimes people need to come to the breaking point where there's
yeah,
the reality is so bad that they really need to change something now because they can't handle it anymore.
yeah.
But a lot of people, what I've realized, come into the point of delusion where they lie themselves about the reality just so they can comfort themselves and feel better about it. So they never
Hmm.
do anything,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's kind of sad because whenever, yeah, I always see the best things about people. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I'm like, oh, you can become this and this, um, and many times I'm always shocked when people choose just either the worst versions of themselves
Hmm.
or just nothing. It's like not finding your way through life,
Hmm.
but just like being thrown, like if you're, I don't know, stuck in a river and it's just pulling you its own course, and you're not even
Oh, yes.
trying to
That's a very
reach
nice
the
example.
coast. And
Hmm.
I've seen that's the majority of people I know. It's like they're not masters of their life, but rather the life is the master of them. And
Oh.
it is being having a gift like this to see the highest potential in someone. It is not pleasant.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like, ooh, you know, and then sometimes some people just like naturally go for it
Yep. Yep.
with
I
such
think that's what.
ease.
That's what I think. It's not just the fate, but also a certain element of self accountability,
Mm,
responsibility also plays a role. Like the
mm,
Buddha said, there is suffering in the world. And second, it will come to you. But then the third thing he said, you can get out of it.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
So a lot of people get stuck at point number two and one.
mhm,
They don't move to the third point.
mm.
Or even if they move to the third point, they move with a sense of dissociation.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to leave my family, go to the Himalayas or go to a monastery, and then I'll achieve enlightenment.
Yeah, yeah, you detach
Oh,
from
sir,
reality.
or
Amazing.
madam, your karma is again going to come back and going to take you back. Next lifetime, you will come back and do the same karma again. Nobody can escape the force of time, space, and karma.
Mm,
That's what. See, this is what karma is. It's simply complementing your action, the way you are functioning. That's it.
mm.
Karma is not saying that I'm going
True.
to stop you, but I'm just going to, just be in equal tandem with you. The way the wave function at which what you are, frequency what you are, I'm going to be that same the same frequency at you are. So now
Yeah,
you have over that I am you already have the free will to go up or down. Now the more down you go, the more down I'll also come with you.
yeah,
The
yeah,
higher you go, the higher I'll come with you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
No, I'd say that the world would need more kind of like real spiritual guides and some kind of resources, because I can understand that sometimes it's really hard to see reality, especially if you're raised in a certain way. If you have a lot of kind of traumas, a lot of generational stuff, I can understand it's really hard to see things as they are. And you know, someone said that we're all living in separate realities. Actually, we all see the world differently, and none
yeah,
of us know which one is the correct in the end. um but yeah, a lot of people don't have anyone to like tell them anything,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
shouldn't be this way. Before, like when we used to live in tribes, there was always this one wise person that would
yeah,
help you out, and
yeah,
there were like
yeah.
things like the tribes had their rituals of adulthood. So like when you
Yes.
reached a certain age,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be with your family anymore, but you would go either with women or with men, and then they would teach you their ways, or if you're a man, how to hunt, how to do this, if you're a woman. And we kind of lost that. uh, there's not a lot of guidance offered anymore, apart from whatever your parents know,
Yeah.
which can be limited as well.
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
so, so you have to kind of find your own way as well. But
Mm.
then you have to ask all the right questions as well.
Yeah, I think yes, that is a challenge. I think this has become a global challenge again. This is one of the global challenges is of isolation.
Yes.
Isolation from communities, isolation from
This
sub-communities,
is a big thing in the West. It is
ostracization. If you
insane.
are, if you are doing
Yeah.
something very different from your community, of being ostracized about that. Of course, sometimes people do some really silly things also, but other than that, a general fear of being ostracized, that even if I think differently, if I do things differently, it's even within one family system itself. That okay, my dad has been a doctor or a businessman, and if I choose to be a coach, or a yoga practitioner, all hell will break loose. Or if I am the son of a doctor, how can I get into acting or dance? All hell will break loose. So there are these legitimate, valid fears and, you know, uh, blocks, resistances that hold us back, and which that is where I think we need more sp- spiritual oriented practitioners, not just bookish knowledge and a certification is done or a degree is done doesn't have any value. Even for that matter, you can get a degree from Harvard for that matter. I mean,
Western
with all due respect,
psychology
I'm not
can be
I'm not at all
crazy.
against the educational
Yeah.
process. With all due
Yeah.
respect, you're spending so much money and everything. But I'm stating a fact of the matter that, there is what's the point of a degree training anything if it doesn't like really awaken the common sense in you, awaken the organicness in you, the naturalness in you, there's a sense of where you can be a very grounded guide, mentor to people around you, to your community, right? And to your own city, your own state, your own country. Why not? And we rather need more of such people. Of course, not everybody can become that. I understand.
A
And
lot of
nobody
them
is,
wouldn't want to either, you know?
yeah, yeah. And there is no pressure. Like everybody cannot become a doctor. Everybody cannot become a coach either, a psychologist either, a psychotherapist, or a yoga master for that matter. But having said that, we still, I think, need more such spiritual interventions, knowledge, practices, as well as psycho-spiritual knowledge work, psychotherapeutical interventions and work, more and more. And there, it has to stop because I also see this thing a lot. I think you must have also experienced and observed this. Psychologists are trying to bash up coaches,
Oh, yes.
and then this
Yeah.
person is trying to bash up a yoga teacher, and then a doctor is the other day trying to bash up an ayurveda practitioner. Hello, where is your common sense? Come to the middle ground. Guys, come to the middle ground, because this bashing up of each other is not going to help. You have to understand each other and come to a point, a central point, like Arjuna and Krishna. You have to stand in the center of the battlefield to get the full view of it. Otherwise, you will remain in your own biases, in your own, even for that matter, let me go to the extremity of saying you will stay in your own eccentricities and stupidities.
Exactly.
Exactly, because none of the profession is perfect. Even you being a doctor, you must have studied medicine for 10 years, 12 years. Your profession is, if you are so perfect, then big pharma would have not been there. There would not been so many agendas and going on behind it. Even there would have been, don't get me started, but there would have not been so much of researches which are biased, which are for a certain product service. Markets are being created for such certain surgical procedures, in the market, so that profit can be made out of it. Don't get me started again.
I
But
I actually see all this that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's not anymore just a news or an article on Facebook, but like tons of my young students that are not
Mm.
even 18 are on some kind of medicine,
Yeah.
and making them
It's very sad.
totally incapable to connect with their emotions.
Yes,
Is
it's very, very
this is
sad.
what these medicines are doing, like antidepressants, antipsychotics, anti this, and okay, sometimes this is needed. Like there are
Yeah.
examples where
Yeah. Yeah.
you do need this, but
Yes. Yes.
now it's like, so it's easier to get antidepressants than antibiotics. I am not even joking. You just
Yeah.
go to see a doctor and you say, I'm feeling down. They don't want to talk with you about why you're feeling down, what's happening in your life. They just prescribe you things. And
Yeah.
I unfortunately had the misfortune of seeing what this does to a person, because my mom was on antidepressants for over
Mm.
20 years without stopping. You know, when she tried to get off them once, and she wanted to kill herself.
Mm.
So it was so bad. And I swore I will never use any of this. Even I'm like, I always say, I love my suffering raw. So whatever it is I feel, I will experience it myself without any support. Um, but now children, really,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't even allow them to find ways to deal with emotions, because being an adult means this, being able to cope with your emotions and stay functional. And if you suppress that at that early age, you're not giving them any resources for adulthood.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's very sad. I see this happening even in India.
Oh, it's more and more here. It's almost every
Psychologists,
third
psychiatrists.
person, something
Yeah, I
like
mean,
that.
psychologists, some of them. I'm not saying all of them because I also
Not all,
have
of
friends who
course.
are psychologists.
Yeah.
You are a psychologist yourself.
Yes.
There are some psychologists, there are lobbies of some psychologists and people who completely did. And by the way, these people, they just deny spiritual work,
Yes.
energy work. It's all hoo-ha, it's all foo-fa, it's all of that. Then what about your psychology, my dear? Psychology, the root of psychology is in the Greek language and it means study of the soul. Where is the soul in today's psychology? You're talking about mind, identity, this, that, bish, bash, all of that. Where is the soul? Where is the soul?
If you want to be a psychologist, for the starters, you need to sort your own stuff first. Like, you can't just go into the school and learn all the theory, but if you haven't experienced your own things, like if you haven't went through therapies yourself and sort out your stuff, you're not going to be able to help anyone. And that's a fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
And,
Like, if you're a
and I
spiritual
think,
teacher, if you haven't
hmm,
sorted out your
yeah,
spiritual stuff, if you haven't experienced things yourself, you're not going to be able to help anyone. It's just
and I
what it
think,
is.
it's also, even if, let's say, even if you've not, it's not important that, and it's not possible that you have to experience every trauma and pain to become a
You're
therapist,
not
right?
going to have all of them, but your
Yeah,
own, you
yeah,
will have to do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's, but yes, as you said that, you have to also work on yourself,
Mm.
on your biases, on your own limited understanding. You have to get out of your own myopia first,
Yes.
your own myopic vision. No, it is a problem.
Mhm.
See, after all, sometimes there are, people when they enter a certain profession or something, they think that, I am the be all and do all. This is also another ego. And
Yeah.
ego is very interesting. I am the be all. I can do everything. I
Mhm.
know it better than anyone else. I'm the master of this whole world. This is how subtle ego is, and it can be, and that this is happening with so many people.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
I can see. I can give you one example. There was a study done in Harvard. Some professor. I don't want to name. I don't even remember her name now. Some crazy professor doing this crazy study that people who are having coconuts and coconut water and coconut cream will develop heart disease and this, and we Indians had a good laugh reading that research and study. It came just 2, 3, 4 years. We had a good laugh. My goodness. You go to the south of India. all population is has survived thousands and hundreds of years on things made out of coconut. Every day they are eating something or the other made of coconut, and they're healthy as f,
Mm-hmm.
healthy as f. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they have good hair, good
Yeah.
skin, and then you're saying that they are they are not
And
people. And you see, there are lobbies and such people at such higher levels who are playing with the lives of the
no.
world,
Yes.
misguiding, and then at that time, no responsibility is taken. But if the same thing a spiritual person does or says in a different way, which is correct, which is not wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but simply because you do not understand it and it's not in your textbook, it becomes
Yes.
wrong. It
Uh,
becomes wrong.
what I noticed also recently in the Western medicine, which I don't think it's a bad thing. Obviously, like within
Yeah,
Western
yeah, yeah,
medicine,
of
like
course, of
there are
course.
things that are very helpful and they
Oh, yes.
prolong their lives and everything.
Oh,
But
yes.
there are more and more cases where a person comes in to see a doctor and they have symptoms and the doctor cannot figure out what is wrong with the person, and I
Yeah.
see more and more of that. And it happened to my friend. She has all these symptoms. They can't, they're like, everything is okay, we did our tests, it's okay, you're okay. And she's like, oh, no, I'm not, I'm not feeling well. And they can't find it. And it happened with my father's girlfriend. She had this kind of mouth ulcers, and they're like, we can't figure out what this is. And 2 years they've been sending her from one doctor to another. And can this medicine just say, okay, we don't know, you're gonna have to find a different help? It's, I think it would be fair, just to say, like, we actually don't have any answers. But the ego there is just they cannot accept the fact that they don't know.
Yeah.
And some things we don't know. There are certain, like, autoimmune diseases that there's no cure for it. There's no cure, like chronic pain, fibromyalgia. There's no cure for it. There's nothing that we can ease your symptoms. That's it. But we don't understand. We don't even know why this is happening. So,
There are, I think there's so many diseases for that matter still, and so many of them emerging out of the blue. Is still
it's
not.
the
I mean,
modern lifestyle. It's the lack of spirituality, lack of, this psychological problem, stress. Um,
yeah.
so modern medicine cannot cure that with medicine. It's the problem of the lives we're leading, I think, because they're so far away from the
Yeah.
natural worlds and from
I
what
think,
we should be doing.
yeah, yeah. I
Mm.
think in Ayurveda, I remember I read this in somewhere in an article. In Ayurveda, like health is looked at from a complete integral view. Your
Yes.
lifestyle, your heredity, and all of that stuff. So they say it's very interesting what they put up in Ayurveda. They say that an ailment, a disease, first happens at the thought level, at the level of the thought.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Slowly, that ailment, that ill thought, turns into feelings.
Mm.
It comes at the level of feelings. Slowly, from thought and feelings, it turns into actions,
Mm.
gets into your actions and behavior. And slowly from there, it comes into full manifestation.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is an Ayurvedic perspective. And now, in today's time, so many people are finding it to be true. But sadly, there are still so many experts who are denying this reality,
Mm.
continuously denying, and they don't understand that by denying the organic laws of nature, you are doing more harm to humans and humanity than you would have even imagined.
Mm.
And it is so irresponsible.
The same thing happened to my mom when she was diagnosed with cancer, and she went to surgery. And the first doctor was actually very honest with her. He said to her, we can't help you. There's nothing we can do. And I thought that was okay, just. And then the second doctor said, oh, you see, we can put you through chemotherapy that may prolong your life a little bit. And but like being because I tried to get her into some kind of other alternatives, and she wouldn't, because she put
Mm,
all her faith into modern Western medicine. And and that medicine literally killed her in the end. I mean,
mm,
she would have passed away, but it actually prolonged her suffering and made them worse, because like the chemotherapy and the radiation literally tore her apart from
mm,
inside.
mm.
And I thought, like, but if you know that a person is dying, why would you do this? Why would you add to suffering just so you can tick a box in your little medicine folder, or you know some company would earn money in selling chemotherapy drugs? And it is crazy. And I was thinking, if I was in the same situation, I would be like, okay, the modern medicine cannot help me, so I need to find other places where I can turn to. And then there are ways. Some people actually reversed their diseases from like final stage of cancer, and things like there are possibilities. But if you have doctors telling you that this is the only way, and we will try, of course you're not gonna turn to anyone else,
Yeah.
which is a
No, but
tragedy.
again, yeah. I mean, it's a very it's in other professions too, be it education, be it law, be it public administration, such kind of half, or let's not say even fake information, but
Hmm.
half information is almost equally dangerous or more dangerous than fake information.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is sad that I don't know why it's happening, why people are not understanding. uh, Professions like highly well educated professionals are, why they are not understanding, why they are in such denial. I don't know what is there, some kind of fear, is there a perception that we will be ostracized, we will be thrown off, this and that. And I mean, I'm talking from a very like just a simple human being right here, right now. I wonder what's wrong. Like, is it a human psyche problem, behavioral problem? What is it exactly? Or are you trying to play God, the controller of everything? That everything is under our control. We can do everything. And
Yeah.
by the way, interesting fact is that when you go to the hospital, they'll get you to sign a document that we are going to perform so and so surgery on the patient, and if anything untowardly happens to the patient, the hospital is not responsible.
Yes, I know. Yes, I know.
And how shamelessly you do that, you
Yeah.
know, the
Yeah.
hospitals or such. What this is where the trust of so many people breaks on so-called modern medicine. Again, for all the listeners who are listening right now, listen later. Nobody is denying that you should not go for. I mean, I am the grandson of a dentist. My maternal grandfather was a
No,
dentist,
of course, modern
and
medicine is very much needed.
yeah,
It just
my
needs to leave
my
space for other things as
yeah,
well.
my paternal grandfather who passed, he graduated in zoology, MSc, Masters of Science in Zoology. He studied animals, and from that, I mean, that's a different thing. He got into business and everything. It's a very different thing. But he was himself a man of science. You know, so
But
I am
like,
not at all saying
it's
we
just
are not at
common
all.
sense. It's like if you see
Yeah,
a person that is bleeding to death, of course you're not gonna do spiritual things on that
of course.
person. you're
Uh,
gonna you're gonna take him to see a doctor and get his wound stitched and stop the bleeding. It's just common sense again. Like, if a doctor tells you we've nothing else to, we can't help you, then it would be okay to say maybe you should look somewhere else. And some doctors would. Some doctors would
yes,
say
yes,
that.
yes.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
doctors do. They do
Yes.
say that, yeah.
Yeah,
Some of
they
the
would be like, "Oh, I know there was a doctor at the hospital who said maybe you should try raw food like raw fruit and veg and cleanses and try that. It worked for some people. Maybe you should do that."
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so there are some doctors that would. I think it depends from a person to person. Some people, if they go through so many years of medical education, they're like, "Oh, this is everything. Nothing else exists. This has all the answers."
yeah. I
Um,
think that also becomes a kind of conditioning, isn't
yeah,
it? Like,
it is.
so if I'm if
Yeah,
I'm let's say if I say that, I'm, but I don't know. I mean, for some people they still remain open. Some people they are heavily conditioned with it. I think it also depends from individual to individual how how open or refined their intelligence is, how open it is to, like, put things in perspective as they should be, so to say.
yeah, yeah. True. And honestly, every disease starts at the spiritual level as well. So there's no harm in checking what's there.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think there's any harm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So of course, I think health, again, holistically speaking, and if I look at from the Ayurveda itself say that even in Ayurveda, by the way, they have suggested surgeries where
Yes.
it is necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have not denied it, not at all.
Of
A
course.
lot of people who have no knowledge, lot of some of them, not all, again, no generalization, but some people have no idea about what, even a basic idea of what Ayurveda or this holistic science is talking about, what it
Yeah.
is about. They just jump on the bandwagon. Oh, it's a pseudo science. Hey, it's a science of life,
Mm.
working since thousands of years. Till
Yes.
today, it is helping people. There are so many cases out there. The patients went to the doctors for 2 years, 3 years. You cannot conceive. You cannot have a baby. You cannot have
Hmm.
a baby. They went to an Ayurveda practitioner and they truly got cured within 3 to 6 months.
Ah,
And they were able to get a very healthy baby,
yeah.
because modern medicine has this drawback, limitation, that it is unable to go beyond the physicality of an
Yes.
individual.
Yeah.
And
Unfortunately.
what's happening beyond the body, like at
Yes.
the depth of the body, what's happening behind the body, what's the unseen, the
Mm.
unconscious probably.
Mm.
In Ayurveda, there is that perspective. You
Yes.
understand the prana in the human, the prana, the life force is categorized into different forms, and they say that this if a specific category gets disrupted, it will lead to certain issues like
Hmm. Hmm.
conception issues, blood
Yeah.
pressure, and all of that.
Yeah. I've seen. I met a lot of women that were not able to have children, and not all of them, but a lot of them were actually in masculine flow.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why it wasn't possible.
Hmm.
They were in complete masculine flow,
Yeah.
and
So yeah, yeah, that's there because the kind of inner disposition that you are operating from. See, after all, it's going to show up on the body today or
yes,
tomorrow or
yeah,
later.
it will.
In a certain insidious way, your body is going to express it. There are books, enough good books. Body keeps the score. Uh, Also, so many things written, even spoken about on this by Dr. Gabor Mate. If you've
Mm.
heard his talks,
There
wonderfully he
are
has.
some Western things as well. I don't know what's his name, but there's a website called "Does Your Body Lie?" and it's like there's a list of certain ailments, and you can just click on them, and there's a psychological and spiritual background of every
Oh,
disease, and it is so correct that
mm,
you can just be completely shocked with
yeah.
it, and it just made sense for every single thing I ever had. So
I
it
think it
became
has to.
almost like my Bible.
No, I think this human health has to be looked at from both the sides, so the physical side and as well as the mental, emotional, behavioral, attitudinal, and the spiritual angle as well.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And that is what all the wholesome, holistic practitioners are trying to tell.
Mm. There
Many of
were
them.
There's a book, I can't remember what's the name, but I'll put it in the description later. It's a book written for women specifically about, their ailments, and it was a section particularly about ovarian cancer, because this
Mm,
this female doctor, woman doctor, she used to like
mhm,
treat ovarian cancer, and she
mm,
said every single woman that walked in through the doors that had ovarian cancer was the same, had the same set of behavior. And she said
yeah,
usually they came in with their husbands, and the husband would usually talk for the woman. So the
oh,
woman was so, um, didn't even have a voice of her own, so under the husband, and so humble and so scared of him, but also very materially reliant on him.
mm,
And this was my mom's story. I was like, wow,
mm,
you just described my mother there. And she said
mm,
that um, her thoughts were like, on getting that type of the cancer, it's the result of that kind of life and behavior. It's
mm,
like renouncing your own strength and renouncing your
mm,
own voice, which I thought was interesting. And there are a lot of like psychotherapists as well, like Wilhelm Reich. He invented the character structure as well, and he said
mm,
that he noticed that the patients that are coming to him for therapies had similar body types, and he could categorize them. And of course, like it's not nice to find yourself in a category and say, oh, but he said like similar traumas create similar issues, and then
yeah,
that creates similar bodies.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
In fact, before coming and sitting here in this podcast and having this conversation with you, uh, some hours back, like, like early in the evening today, I actually had a constellation with someone which was focused on their health.
uh-huh.
And it's interesting that we're talking about this. This is what,
Synchronicities.
and yeah, I think, and even before there have been some spaces where we have worked uh, on the physical, we've addressed the aspect of physical health also through the and as you know, I mean, we do that. I mean, in constellation spaces, we also, of course, we are not denying, we never tell anyone to uh, because our ethics are pretty much clear as
Yes.
constellation practitioner, that
Yeah.
we never tell anyone to like let go of physical doctoral prescriptions and medications and all of that. No,
Yeah.
because that's necessary for the issue.
Yes.
What is necessary
Yes.
is necessary. But we are also looking at it from a very deeper perspective, that what is the language which is playing out, what
Mm.
is the systemic language and the systemic imprints, and you know and I've seen it so many times. I've seen whenever there is a health constellation, repression and suppression are two very common themes.
Mm.
Either the person has learned to, just suppress their emotion, their themselves, they're a part of themselves, or they they just go into the mode of repression, which
Mm.
happens automatically. Their body just gives up.
Yeah.
It goes into shut off and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
In either of shutting off or fly fighting it off, again because of a lot of conditioning, the way they've
Mm.
grown up, things, events, and impressions and reactions of people, situations, events, objects, that they've not been able to digest. Their
Mm.
bodies have not been able to like hold space for it. And
Yeah.
over time, and it's not just one person, generation after generation, generation after generation, four, five, six generations, the issue is mirroring with itself.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen with so many women. Continuous repression and rejection of their own femininity.
Mm.
It leads to so many disorders, and it's leading them to have so many disorders, weight
Yes.
issues, issues with their blood, issues with their, reproductory health. It is the body is unable to hold itself together,
Yeah, especially female body. Female body is in
breaking
constant
down from
flow.
inside,
Yeah, it's like
breaking down.
And I've seen it's getting worse as well in the West, because now women are not allowed to be women anymore, and we're living these lives that are like so unnatural for us. You know, working 50 hours a week is not a thing a woman should be doing. It's just unnatural. The amount of stress a female body cannot handle it. We're just not built for it.
And I think it's even happening for the men. Young men, we have had so many cases in India of late. Young guys of my age, they're in their 30s or they're in early 20s, mid 20s, or early 40s. Young people, still young people, it's not their old age. And so called, even so called fit and fine people going to the gym and everything,
Yeah,
just dropping dead in the gym,
yeah,
running on a treadmill, dropping dead.
yeah, yeah.
Because again, excessively pushing yourself to train and train like crazy, not
And
being able to say no, not being able to say this is enough.